This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
China pledges support for service and tourism industries as the country continues its fight against COVID-19. Sahel leaders call for collective efforts to help fight jihadists in the region. And a musician syndicate in Egypt bans popular street music genre. This is CGTN. Welcome to Africa Live with me, Beatrice Marshall, in Nairobi. Also ahead on the program, South Africa's finance minister set to deliver the 2020 budget amid declining revenues. And in sports, we bring you the latest action from the round of 16 matches in the UEFA Champions League. And we begin with the latest on the coronavirus outbreak. In China, the number of new deaths has dropped for 7 consecutive days. Outside the epicenter, Hubei, daily new cases fell from 9 on Monday to 5 on Tuesday, and 26 provincial-level regions reported no new infections. The country has recorded over 78,000 confirmed cases in total. More than a third of the patients have now recovered, but more than 2,700 have died. Most of the confirmed cases are in Hubei province. Guangdong, Sichuan, and Henan are the next worst-hit provinces after Hubei, each with more than 1,200 cases. 36 other countries have reported infections with more than 2,900 cases and 46 deaths. While the epicenter, Wuhan city, remains under lockdown, we earlier spoke to our reporter Sun Tianyuan about the situation on the ground.
Hubei province reported about 400 new confirmed cases on Tuesday. That's 100 less than yesterday's number. The province also accounted for all 52 new deaths reported nationwide. And Wuhan has 42 deaths, the lowest number in the past week. So now the figures indicate the situation may have eased somehow in Hubei, which is China's worst hit area. However, authorities believe the fight against the coronavirus is far from over and it's too early to celebrate. So more provinces have lowered their emergency response level to the coronavirus, but Wuhan is still under lockdown to contain the spread. It's been over a month now. Local officials say they're not lifting travel restrictions, at least for now. So meanwhile, medical workers in Wuhan are also looking for new insight into the virus through autopsies. Doctors in Wuhan have found COVID-19 may cause other damage to human body than just the lungs. The virus can also attack the immune system and other organs. So those are the latest results from studying bodies of 9 patients who died from the illness.
While Hubei authorities say more help and supplies are being given to the province to fight the coronavirus outbreak. Officials say Guangdong and Hainan provinces are providing assistance to Qingshu, a city some 200 kilometers from Wuhan and one of the most affected in Hubei. Over 800 medical workers have been sent to the city from the 2 provinces. Guangdong authorities also said over 9,000 nucleic acid tests have been conducted in the past 4 days, and they'll continue to step up efforts in key prevention and control areas. While China has launched measures to support the hospitality and services industries amid the outbreak, this includes a reduction in loan interest rates, waivers on certain insurance fees, as well as financial relief packages.
The central and local support policies are gradually being implemented. According to a survey on over 4,000 life services companies, as of February 25th, 22% of them say they have enjoyed the benefits of these policies. Some large-scale hospitality and catering enterprises say they've received loans from banks. This has eased their financial pressure.
Well, cultural and tourism businesses are set to also benefit from support measures, including a waiver on certain value-added taxes. China's State Planning Agency has allocated over $475 million to improve infrastructure and public service facilities for the country's cultural and tourism industries. And in Europe, nearly 400 cases have been confirmed. Croatia and Switzerland have recently reported their first cases. Some of the worst affected countries in Europe are Germany with 18 cases and France with 14 cases and 1 death. But the country with the highest number outside Asia is Italy with 323 cases and 11 deaths. The northern province of Lombardy is the hardest hit region. CGTN's Natalie Carney is in the provincial capital Milan with the very latest.
Late on Tuesday, we got reports of more deaths here in Italy. 3 people have lost their lives, succumbed to the coronavirus here in Lombardy. I am in the capital, Milan, as well. 1 more person has lost their life in Veneto, which is home to the city of Venice. The Italian health ministry says that more than 4,000 people across the country have been tested for the virus as the government and health officials take very prominent and very active, proactive steps to try and quarantine the virus as best they can. They are still looking for patient 0, as they call it, the person who brought the virus into the country, the way that the virus was brought into the country. Once that person is identified, they can then better confine the situation. There was an emergency meeting in Rome early on Tuesday between European Union health ministries led by the Italian health minister Roberto Speranza, as well as his counterparts from Austria, Germany, France, Croatia, Slovenia and Switzerland. The WHO, World Health Organization, is also in Italy and working with other European Union countries who are very concerned about the spread across the Union.
We are taking in this moment all the necessary measures and also working together with other countries. There's also an agreement with the European Commission and World Health Organization regarding the measures we are taking.
Here in the north of the country, there has been a lockdown of 11 communities for concern that the virus could spread further afield. Schools have been canceled, churches have been canceled, public events have all been canceled in an effort to try to contain the virus. A meeting scheduled between the French President Emmanuel Macron and the Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte, meant to have taken place in Naples on Thursday, was also canceled for precautionary measures. Natalie Carney for CGTN in Milan.
Well, let's cross over now to Natalie Carney. She's joining us live from Milan for more on that story. Natalie, what is the situation in Italy, especially the regions of Lombardy and Veneto?
Well, as was just mentioned, 11 deaths have been announced in the country, most of them here in the region of Lombardy and 1 in Veneto, which is home to the city of Venice. The confirmed cases are 323 still, with 5 of new cases being confirmed in children as young as 4 years old. The regions of Tuscany and Sicily have also announced fresh cases, their first cases of the coronavirus. So it's not just here in the north that this virus is apparent. It seems to be spreading across the country, which of course is a great concern for the European Union as a whole.
It is a concern for the European Union, but Italy has in recent days become Europe's worst affected country with more than 300 cases and 11 deaths. So what measures is the government taking, though, to address that situation?
Well, the government has been criticized for not being too active at the very beginning to try to stop the presence of the virus in the country early on. However, now that these numbers are rising, they're being very proactive and doing as much as they can to try to confine the disease and the spread. 11 communities have been completely locked down. People told they must wear masks and can only venture out with special permission. We've seen schools, churches, as mentioned, public gatherings closed in 5 regions under a government decree. Other regions are also implementing their own precautionary measures. Many companies, some of the biggest companies in the country, have implemented what they're calling a work safe policy, which is essentially telling employees to stay at home. Now, while you can see Milan still is bustling, it certainly has slowed down. This really is the financial hub of the country. So any economic impact that is felt here in Milan is very likely to ripple across the country.
Well, Natalie, Italy is not the only country affected in Europe. What is the situation across the rest of Europe.
Well, we are hearing health ministers announce that they have five countries in the European Union have announced that they have cases linked here to Italy. Unfortunately, in Rome, the capital of Italy, meetings continue between health ministers as well as the director of the WHO and the European Center for Disease Control and Prevention. They are in emergency meetings trying to find out how to stop this spread. Their main objective at the moment is to stop the human-to-human transmission that we are currently seeing. Some measures that other countries have implemented, for instance, the UK has advised citizens returning from northern Italy, if they feel flu-like symptoms, to self-isolate themselves for 2 weeks. We're just getting word as well that the Director General of France's Public Health Agency has confirmed that a 60-year-old man has become the first French citizen to die with COVID-19. But at the moment, as these discussions continue, European nations are saying it is too presumptuous at the moment to close borders, and that any such action at this time would be disappropriate and ineffective. But that could always change, of course, as the numbers continue to rise here in Italy.
All right, Natalie Carney joining us there from Milan with the latest on Italy's coronavirus outbreak. Thank you. Now, the African Union is building capacity of its member states to respond to COVID-19. The African Union, in collaboration with the World Health Organization and the Africa Center for Disease Control, are training point-of-entry officials and health workers. CGTN's Kelechi Mekalam reports.
35 member states from the African Union are represented here at this training of the Trainers Conference. It's the first of its kind by the African Union and other international partners. It's all in preparation against a possible outbreak of the COVID-19 epidemic.
WHO, Afro, WHO, EMRO, Africa CDC, West African Health Organization, we all come together, to decide on how best to approach this situation, share information. So what are the key challenges? How do we jointly address this? So that has actually helped a lot. And of course, we should not forget that politically too, our officials, the decision makers have also seen the need to invest in health.
The training involves health workers and officials at the various point of entries. They're building capacity on infection prevention and control to strengthen COVID-19 preparedness across Africa. Key players are being equipped with necessary information in case of any eventuality.
And therefore, if this virus is going to enter any country, it is going to come through a point of entry. It is going to fly in or come in via ship or come in via a road border, a land border. And therefore, if we have people who are vigilant, who are trained, who have a high index of suspicion, that is our first barrier that we have erected. Then the second part is, if somebody becomes sick with the coronavirus, he will either be sick in his community and remain in his community, or he will show up in a health facility. And if you notice, most disease outbreaks are amplified around health facilities.
WHO declared COVID-19 a public health emergency of international concern. So this is part of the AU's proactive measure to strengthen their preparedness for prevention and response. Kelechi Mekalam, CGTN Abuja, Nigeria.
Meanwhile, Algeria has confirmed its first case of the novel coronavirus. According to state television, an Italian man who arrived in the country on the 17th of this month tested positive for the virus. The individual has since been quarantined. Italy has been at the front line of the virus spread in Europe, with the death toll rising to at least 11 and more than 320 reported cases so far.
Today, a confirmed case was recorded. The case is an Italian citizen. There were two people, one of which had symptoms similar to those of this disease. The Italian citizen came from Italy to Algeria on the 17th of February with another Algerian citizen. They were examined at the Pasteur Center, where it emerged that one of the two Italians was suffering from this disease. All measures were taken in accordance with the measures usually followed globally. He was isolated and is under medical supervision.
International students from Liaocheng University in China have released a song in support of China's efforts against COVID-19. The song, entitled Strong Together Defeat Corona, is an original composition. Contributors include a Ghanaian lead singer, a Nigerian rapper, and another Nigerian who is the pianist. The group says coronavirus is a common enemy that should be fought collectively.
We are strong together, we fight together, defeat Corona till the end. Oh yeah. We are one, but different nations, coming together, no separation. Show your love to face situation now. What can't you like when you're hyper? Mama was I, shape and your time. Oh. We all have each other. Corona is the foe. You and I are bros. No discrimination. I'm not virus. Wash your hands and be precautious when you are there. Corona is the foe. You and I are bros. No discrimination. I'm not virus. Wash your hands and be precautious. Oh, we are strong together. We fight together. Defeat Corona till the end. Oh yeah. We are strong together. We fight together. Defeat Corona till the end. Oh yeah.
Woman zai iti buyau tai jaudi mashin jiwo hawa landin si alaiba grabbing do the wenti buyau tai dancing bojan how shanty together we conquer, we prosper, we make it to the top. Nobody can stop us cause China is my second home. Corona is liar, people know they tire. Every day they say that causing panicking. People are vanishing, never spread the rumors just to make yourself famous. Wear your mask, wash your hands, this thing shall be over very soon, I tell ya.
Well, we earlier spoke to Usman Abdullahi on the group's motivation behind the song.
Actually, the motivation behind the song is like the situation. You see a lot of people are scared, and then when you read news, you see a lot of people discriminating, like running away from the other people, like Asian looking at like a lot of people. So actually, this is what motivates us to write the song about coronavirus, to show the people that the coronavirus is the common enemy. Body is a virus. Corona is the enemy, so let's fight together and beat the virus. That's the motivation behind the song. Everything is getting better here. Basically, the cases in Shandong are fewer compared to the other provinces. Now you can see everything is getting better, especially the city I am living in right now, Liaocheng. Recently, there are no few reported cases or confirmed cases. So actually, everything is getting better.
Let's now take a look at other stories we're following for you today. Egyptians have expressed mixed emotions following the death of the country's longtime ruler, Hosni Mubarak. The 91-year-old died weeks after undergoing surgery. Mubarak served as Egypt's fourth president. He ruled for 30 years. He was ousted by the military following mass protests against his rule in 2011.
President Hosni Mubarak's passing was a shock. He lived his life in service of his country since 1981 up until 2011, when the January 25th revolution was held. During this time, he did not spare any effort for Egypt, whether in war or peace. He did not lead Egypt into any political battles or wars. He was a man of peace and was used to solve our problems through legitimate means. May he rest in peace.
We have some good memories. He was a strong president and gave Egypt and the Egyptian people standing in other countries. But we have also some bad memories, including the privatization of public sector companies, the illnesses that spread during his time, and the rampant corruption that took place. Unfortunately, these are the memories that affected his tenure.
Honestly, we got into a debate when we were at the office on whether or not he should have a military funeral or a regular one. I prefer he has a regular funeral because there were some people who were stifled during his role and others who liked him. So it's better that be a regular funeral just for the sake of the people.
Well, Dr. Gamal Abdel Gawad is in our Cairo studios. He's joining us with more on this developing story out of Egypt. He's a senior research fellow and academic advisor at Al Akram Center for Political and Strategic Studies. Dr. Gawad, thank you for joining us on Africa Live. First of all, let's start on what you think. Give us your thoughts on former Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak's time in power.
Well, Hosni Mubarak was a great patriot. He was a professional military officer who internalized the values of the Egyptian military during his service, the values of patriotism and discipline. Hosni Mubarak was moderate. Hosni Mubarak was centrist. He is a man who wouldn't take risk, avoiding taking risks. This was very important for Egypt at the time, particularly in the Middle East that was influenced and affected by a lot of revolutionary and upheaval developments during the 30 years of rule of Hosni Mubarak. Hosni Mubarak definitely saved Egypt a lot of trouble, but at the same time, maybe he needed to be less cautious at a time to take advantage of certain opportunities that were there on the horizon, but being a cautious, very cautious leader, maybe he missed those opportunities. 30 years of rule where he put a lot of emphasis on stability and maintaining order. Definitely this was needed in a revolutionary Middle East, but at the same time, some change and dynamism was needed.
So he ruled for 30 years, but the latter part of his rule was met with quite some tumultuous period. What kind of legacy has he left for Egypt?
Well, 30 years in power is a lot of time, and I would say that many of the ingredients of the current reality of the Egyptian society, politics, ideological landscape, economics has been created during Mubarak time and is a legacy of Mubarak. I would say that the vibrant Egyptian began investing in that direction. The current government continue to put more investment.
He was a victim of that revolt, and he was an early victim of the Arab Spring revolutions that swept the region at that time. Did Egypt benefit from the Arab Spring?
Well, unfortunately not. I think there have been a lot of problems during Mubarak time, but definitely there was a gradual process of reform and development. What happened in 2011 is that this process has been interrupted, and Egypt lost valuable years trying to handle the political trouble, the power politics, the conflict for power. And only recently the country has succeeded in restoring stability, but valuable years have been lost, and the gradual process of reform and political change has been interrupted, and the country now is searching for a new path again.
All right, Dr. Gamal Abdel Gawad joining us there from Cairo. Thank you. You're watching Africa Live. Still ahead on the program. Sahel leaders call for collective efforts to help fight jihadists in the region. And the UN appeals for increased funding to deal with Locust invasion to avert a food crisis.
Each day, there are millions of stories. Each one can open new perspectives, new possibilities. Wherever you look, we are there to see
discover, explore. We put the pieces together to find what really matters to you, all around the world, all around the clock. Our reporters are at home across the globe. From our headquarters in Beijing and production centers in Washington, Nairobi, and London, China Global Television Network. Stories from across the globe, reaching people across the globe. CGTN. See the difference.
Mauritania's President Mohamed El Ghazouani is calling for collective efforts to help defeat jihadists in the Sahel. A recent meeting of leaders of the G5 Sahel countries hoped to find ways to contain the spread of violence in the region. It follows the PAU summit held a month ago in France, which launched the Coalition for the Sahel.
Jihadist attacks continue to claim the lives of civilians and soldiers in Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso. They're also raiding military bases to arm themselves. Hundreds of people have been killed in the last 6 months alone. The number of displaced increased tenfold in 2019 to more than 560,000 people. The Norwegian Refugee Council has warned the situation is becoming world's fastest growing displacement crisis.
We need to work hard to improve the responses found to address weaknesses linked to the multifaceted capacity challenge faced by defense and security forces, justice, education, social cohesion, and the challenge of climate change, which considerably reduces the areas of exploitable resources. In addition, despite the strengthening of our regional cooperation and the progress made in the fight against terrorism, we note that security threat feeds and exploits these weaknesses.
The first task of this coalition is to reinforce the synergy between the 4 pillars of our joint action, which are military action, the reinforcement of capabilities of the armed forces of the G5, the return of the state through the governance project of internal security, and support for the sovereign administration and stabilization and development.
The Sahel Alliance Group has already mobilized $13 billion to help tackle the unprecedented humanitarian crisis. Chamwono, CGTN.
The United Nations is calling for urgent and increased funding to tackle swarms of locusts in Eastern Africa, threatening a food crisis. As a result of widespread breeding, new swarms are expected in the coming weeks. The situation remains extremely serious in the Horn of Africa, specifically Kenya, Ethiopia, and Somalia. The region now faces the threat of hunger. Back in January, the Food and Agriculture Organization FAO called for $76 million to help combat the insects, but the resources have been too slow in coming.
Officials said that since then, the locusts continue their invasion throughout Eastern Africa. The cost of action has doubled to $138 million. The World Food Programme warned that the cost of responding to the impact of locusts to food and security alone will be at least 15 times higher than the cost of preventing the spread now. To date, $33 million has been received.
Chala has more.
Deep in the southern Ethiopia, bordering Oromia and Sidama regional states, the desert locust invasion is real and heavy.
An additional 20 million people are likely to be affected by food insecurity as a result of the damage caused by the locusts, which means locusts.
The current locust invasion has already led nations like Somalia to declare emergency, and still Ethiopia, Kenya, South Sudan
of the locusts, and we call upon our member states to basically take every measure that is needed. And in this case, it is basically aerial and ground spraying of the locusts. So we are calling upon them to mobilize resources domestically to ensure that they hire aeroplanes to spray against the locusts in the air, but also mobilize the populations, especially in the communities that are affected, to do ground spraying.
Still, people in some countries are using traditional methods of chasing the locusts away using smokes and release higher volumes of sound. The African Union wants global organizations like the UN's Food and Agriculture Organization to continue their help.
The FAO has estimated that to control the locusts, we need about 70 million US dollars. And the organization has mobilized about 14 million, and there is a shortage of $56 million. So we need the FAO to intensify efforts to mobilize more resources, but also we as the African Union Commission plan to mobilize through our other partners internationally to support the technical organizations in mobilizing resources, both technical and financial, to be able to support our member states in fighting against the invading locusts.
Experts still emphasize the importance of a strong and proactive approach against the locust invasion to be made by the affected countries. And instead of separate works, they suggest a coordinated and synergized work to be done, and sooner. Group Jala CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
Well, let's now take a brief look at your business news. Here's what's ahead. South Africa's finance minister is set to deliver the 2020 budget amid declining revenues. And Nigerian traders feel the heat as Ghana keeps over 600 shops operated by foreigners shut. South Africa's Finance Minister Tito Mboweni will deliver his 2020 budget address on Wednesday afternoon. Some of the highlights expected are a renewed drive to cut the wage bill of state employees, a hike in VAT, and the establishment of a deposit-taking state bank. Earlier this month, President Cyril Ramaphosa, at his State of the Nation address, hinted that Mboweni would provide details on the creation of a new state bank. Ramaphosa said the bank would extend access to financial services to all South Africans. This budget address comes at a time when the country is battling record unemployment, depressed economic growth, and tax shortfalls. Some analysts argue that South Africa is marching towards an economic downgrade. The Emir of Qatar has concluded a two-day visit in Tunisia. His delegation included senior officials, including the foreign minister and the finance minister. CGTN's Adnan Chauchi has the details.
Tunisia's President Kais Saied welcomed Sheikh Hamad bin Khalifa Al Thani in Carthage. The head of state shed light on Qatar's financial support to Tunisia since 2011 and the possibility of converting debts into investments.
I appreciate the readiness of Emir Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani to contribute to the implementation of the Medical City project in Karwan Governorate, as well as the Production Markets project in the Governorate of Sidi Bouzid, that will facilitate collecting, packaging and processing of all agricultural products.
The Emir of Qatar described the Tunisian-Qatari relations as exemplary and urged closer cooperation.
The meeting dealt with bilateral relations in the areas of investment, security and defense. We are keen to develop the distinguished relations between Qatar and Tunisia in all fields.
The high-level meeting also focused on the alarming situation in Libya. Kais Saied said Tunisia is one of the most affected countries by the unrest in the North African state.
We discussed the need to find an inter-Libyan solution and the possibility of inviting Libyan tribes to hold a second expanded meeting in Tunisia where all tribes will be represented to end the fighting, wars and divisions.
The Palestinian cause was also on the agenda of the meeting. The two Arab leaders emphasized the need to respect international legitimacy and hold on to Al-Quds as the capital of Palestine. The Tunisian head of state and the Emir of Qatar stressed their identical views on many internal, bilateral, regional and Arab issues. Analysts say the two-day visit will boost economic ties while developing and enriching cooperation between Tunis and Doha. Abdel Shawishi, CGTN, Tunis.
In Ghana, more than 600 shops operated by foreigners remain shut 4 months after a local trade union shackled them. Ghanaian traders say they took matters into their own hands after the government failed to enforce a law which prevents foreigners from engaging in retail businesses. Nigerian businesses have been particularly hard hit, and they're now warning that if the situation is not resolved soon, the implementation of the Continental Free Trade Area may suffer. CGTN's Nabil Ahmed Rufai reports from Accra.
Emmanuel Sechi fixes faulty phones in Accra's business district. He buys his repair parts from Nigerian traders who sell close to his shop. But for the past 4 months, he's been losing business because the shops he usually buys from have been forcibly locked up.
They have closed the shop for too much, and I think they have to open the shop for us because there are a lot of things that we need to fix the phones. There are a lot of things that people are brought to us here that we have to fix it. But it's only Nigerians who have those things.
In November, the Ghana Union Traders Association locked up more than 600 shops operated by foreigners in Accra's central business districts. They claim the shops were operating in violation of a law which bans foreigners from engaging in retail operations. It's meant to protect Ghanaian jobs, but as the months drag on, the impact is spreading.
It's affecting both Nigerians and Ghanaians because sometimes some of the goods are cheaper than what other people are selling, and even those who've rented shops to Nigerians are being affected.
Some Nigerian traders say the lockup could impact the African Continental Free Trade Area, which is meant to boost intra-African trade. Instead, they warn that anti-foreigner sentiment could push investors away.
Many people have left Ghana in the last 2 years because when these people start carrying this gong going around that they don't want foreigners in the market, many people have left. That is not good for any economy. It's not good for West Africans.
But the Ghanaian traders say they only want to ensure retail business in the country is properly regulated.
We are just trying to enforce a law that's supposed to be enforced by the executive arm of this country. Local businesses are dying because foreigners are taking over the local markets.
The government set up a committee to verify the business permits of foreign retail firms in order to resolve the situation, but most have failed to submit their documents. It is unclear how many businesses are operating illegally in the country. As for Emmanuel Sechi, he just wants the situation to be resolved so he can get back to business as usual.
It's uncertain when these shops of Nigerians will be reopened for business, but the government says it is collaborating with both the Nigerian and Ghanaian traders to find a lasting solution to the situation as soon as possible. Nabil Ahmed Rufai, CGTN, Accra, Ghana.
Tomato plants in France's far west region have been contaminated with a destructive virus that could lead to whole plant crops being wasted. The tomato brown rugosi fruit virus, known as TOBRFV, leads to rough, discolored patches on the fruit that make it difficult to sell. Agricultural officials have warned that its spread would have major economic consequences for the farmers. The virus, which is not harmful to humans, was first reported in 2014 at greenhouses in Israel before it spread to Europe and America. Growers in Spain and Italy, the EU's biggest tomato producers, have also been affected, as have some in the US and Mexico. Britain announced its first case last July.
Protocols are being put in place to ensure the destruction is carried out under proper conditions. Today, the focus is more in the incineration, and precautions must be taken when plants are taken out of the plant and transported to the incinerator. Today, even if the tomato is subject to a virus, there is no risk in eating tomatoes. We remain in the vegetable world, so you can continue to eat tomatoes and also produce tomatoes.
Britain and the European Union are expected to start trade talks in March, but doubts still remain whether the talks could be wrapped up with a deal. CGTN's Andrew Wilson has more.
The day is getting closer and the noises from Brussels are getting louder. The tight timetable was Boris Johnson's idea, so minds at Downing Street are focused. But the EU negotiators have been quicker off the mark, laying out their position after an all-member states meeting early in the day. Led by the French, there is a determination that UK privileges in any future market will be dependent on full alignment, a level playing field in areas such as subsidies, environmental protection, food standards and employment laws.
We represent the interests of our citizens, the interests of the economy, the interests of the employees, and therefore there cannot be a free trade agreement which doesn't protect the interests of our employees. There must not be social dumping, there must not be environmental dumping, and this must be made clear to our British counterparts.
Not quite what the UK government has in mind, but something that British businesses will probably be keen on. Downing Street has its own red line. Boris Johnson is sticking to the stated Brexit goal of restoring economic and political independence by the end of the year. Taking back control remains the policy mantra. Many will see that as prioritising UK sovereignty issues over the needs of Britain's business interests. The UK will field again the examples of Canada and Japan as trading partners that enjoy pick-and-choose arrangements with agreed tariff deals. But the message from Brussels is clear. Any drop in UK standards to accommodate other trading partners, such as the United States, will cost Britain dearly within the EU market. The talks begin in March.
Well, we still have more news for you here on Africa Live. Here's what's ahead. A musician syndicate in Egypt bans a popular street music genre. A new generation of Egyptian music has been spreading at a phenomenal rate during the past few years. Known as festivals, the music is being played throughout the streets of the North African country. But this month, the Egyptian Musician Syndicate has taken the drastic decision to ban all artists who perform that genre. Here is Adel Mahroui with more.
On the top charts of songs on SoundCloud, 2 Egyptian tracks are ranking the first and the fourth globally. They belong to the same genre of street music called mahraganat, Arabic for festivals. Their videos only display still pictures of the singers, yet in just 3 months, this one made more than 124 million views on YouTube. Mahraganat has been phenomenally growing lately, and that has alarmed the Musician Syndicate, which has banned that genre's artists.
This phenomenon has become monstrous. It has huge impact on society. Children have access and choose their music. Music shapes the imagination and art sense in children. When they are raised on such rotten work, that will affect the kind of adults they become.
Bint El Giran, the song that ignited this clash, suggests drinking alcohol and smoking hashish to overcome a breakup. There are worse lyrics in Mahraganat, but the success that song made has put the entire genre under the spotlights. It's a mixture of shabby folk and electronic music. Dancing for it usually involves knives or gestures of using it.
All the houses are crushed together, so you smell food and you smell trash, and your senses are all distorted. So this kind of music, when it's distorted like this, it's natural born from the street of Egypt, because this is the street of Egypt. This is what's happening right now. It's normal that this kind of music is what represents Egypt right now, because at the end, music is always a reflection of the street.
The Musicians Syndicate claims to have support from the state to wipe out Mahraganat.
There is a huge solidarity to our move. NGOs, political parties have made public statements to support our decision. The parliament gave us the green light and offered to help us by all means. But the Ministry of Culture Egypt is moving against this phenomena. Our cultural heritage is being jeopardized here. Our ancient fathers invented musical instruments, and they want to call this music? This is nonsense.
With the striking popularity of this new Egyptian music, which is starting to spread globally, the Musicians Syndicate may be on a mission impossible.
We have to take care of it. If it's wrong or deformed in a way, we help make it grow in the right way, so we can position it in a good way. You cannot stop it. It's coming, and there's no way you can stop it. And what you're doing right now, you're turning them against you more, and they're going to be more aggressive. They're too successful. They make triple the number of any artist that, like any normal artist does. Like the pop stars, we have only few that breaks those numbers.
The clash between music generations is not new to Egypt. The Musicians Syndicate usually begins by rejecting what it doesn't recognize as music. But history shows that eventually some of these rejected artists end up to become music icons decades later. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
In Johannesburg, an NGO is reaching out to inner city girls through skateboarding. Skateboarding has set up girls-only sessions to address the country's gender divide. CGTN's Julie Shire has more.
There is a safe place for every girl at Skateboarding. At this Johannesburg skate school, programs run 5 days a week dedicated to girls-only skating sessions.
I came here at Skateboarding because I saw other children skating, how to do a ollie, 50, rock and roll, and all other skateboard tricks.
I come here every day and it changed my life because I am no more the weak person I used to be. I used to cry and those things, but now I've learned to be more proud of myself for who I am.
It's a source of pride for the charity Skateboarding, which sees sport as a force for gender equality.
What Skateboarding provides is a safe place for kids, to play, to learn and to skate. Through skateboarding, the girls learn various types of skills. These include being creative, communication, self-expression, and never to give up. More tricks that they learn, the more confident they also become, and they're not afraid to be trying out other things or new things. It's a learning process for skaters in a way, and it also allows them to dream beyond their current situation.
Through skateboarding, new platforms of opportunities are created and girls can dream of a brighter future.
I haven't made that choice because there are many options. I want to be a singer. I really like singing.
I want to be a doctor in life, and I want to help others to achieve their life goals and be a hero to some other children.
This new generation of skate girls haven't yet mastered advanced tricks, but they've understood their strength and feel empowered to take on the world. Julie Shara, CGTN, Johannesburg, South Africa.
Well, let's now take a look at your sports news. Here's what's ahead. All the latest action from the round of 16 matches in the UEFA Champions League.